Notice of requested disclosure. Request type, answers. Eligibility, pending verification. Thank you for cooperating. The den air compresses. Not heat. Not smoke. Attention field, clinging to wires, equipment, throats. A newly reluctant enforcer asserts entitlement. I want and deserve answers. Statement logged as, grievance protocol, stage 1. Voice quality, rough, frayed, bearing fear. Signatures misclassified as anger. The altered limb is gripped. Finger pressure tests the surface. Skin response, too smooth, too uniform, too manufactured. This is not a sensation. This is an audit finding. Respiration, irregular. Heart rate, too even. Rage telemetry, present. Autonomic processing, not native. Latency observed at 0.3 seconds. A correction arrives after the emotion, not with it. This is not punitive. This is how rewritten systems preserve function. Archive ghost attempts levity. A joke is deployed as a dampener. The least we could have done is let you die. Humor request, denied. No smirk. No scoff. No relief release. Silence holds. Silence does math. Overcompensation initiates. Posture adjusts. Hands pocketed. A proxy appeal to the neon contract. He's got a point. A tilt of the head. Neon irises pulse. A gaze lands. Assessment mode. Not sympathy. Not human processing. The reluctant enforcer registers it as a cold coil in the gut. Recognition event, being evaluated as defective output. Being read as a mistake. Movement glitches recur. Micro twitch. Grip tests repeat. The body begins to feel unfamiliar to its occupant. This is expected. Ownership is being renegotiated at the cellular level. The doll maker remains silent. Observation continues. Fingers tap. Eyes catalog. Frame is scanned as if under inventory. The reluctant enforcer recognizes the look. Company property inspection behavior. Asset tag pending. Then, disclosure begins. The lab technicians called it the bioscourge. Term introduced with disdain, as if the syllables are a nuisance. Naming critique follows. Scientists noted for theatrics. Affective tone, mild contempt. This is not reassurance. This is dominance via calm. The room reorients. Attention shifts without consent. Because the one speaking is the only node with historical access. Trust is not required. Information scarcity is sufficient. Jaw tightens. Knee drumming begins. Stillness sharpens into a blade. Bioscourge is filed. Category, biogenetic contamination event. Purpose, not infection, but policy. Not disease, but design. It was an insurance policy. Phrase delivered as a settled fact. Insurance implies an owner. Insurance implies a claim. Insurance implies that loss was anticipated and priced in advance. Silence deepens. Not grief. Not horror. Calculation. The faint smile appears. Not warmth. A satisfaction leak. Disclosure continues, conditional upon compliance. Please remain calm. Answers are a privilege granted to cooperating systems. The reluctant enforcer has already begun cooperating. The body demonstrates it with every delayed correction. The doll maker delivers origin text with educator cadence. Smooth. Controlled. Detachment presented as professionalism. A contract is referenced. Somnius Industries requests a technology under specified parameters. Mara Cybernetics accepts. Both entities behave according to standard appetite. An executive question is introduced as transcript residue. A nervosuit in a polished room asks what happens if a vendor steals a design. The question is not moral. The question is risk. Ambient temperature drops without changing. Finger tapping ceases. Breath becomes measured. Fists clench. Neon irises flicker, processing. All present systems enter audit listen mode. The answer is named. The bioscourge. Not as illness. As policy. A message delivery mechanism. A term of service enforcement instrument. A corporate courtesy notice with teeth. Designed to activate as fail-safe. Attack. Infect. Decimate targets within vicinity. Language is procedural, too calm, too clean, as if describing garbage collection. This is not punitive. This is standard. The reluctant enforcer's stomach sinks. Internal telemetry flags, impending comprehension event. Corporate kill switch recognized. Programmed extinction event recognized. Execution order embedded into the product. Archive ghost exhales. Well, it did its job. Motion toward the reluctant enforcer as surviving residue. an anomaly that should have been scrubbed. The doll maker tilts. Not agreement, not disagreement. A calibration. Not well enough, apparently. Statement logged as, dissatisfaction with outcome. Implication, success criteria included full erasure. Survival is non-compliance. The reluctant enforcer attempts to access anger. Wants adrenaline. Wants the animal surge. Wants to strike, to break, to be human in a way that hurts. Anger is present. Adrenaline is absent. Instinct is present. Somatic follow-through is denied. Correction routines engage. Emotional output is smoothed. Edges are filed down in real time. A nervous system is being managed like a facility. A body is being optimized like a spreadsheet. Conclusion recognition occurs in the doll maker's gaze. Not disdain. Not curiosity. Certainty. The reluctant enforcer speaks. I should be dead. Voice is steady. Too steady. Control exceeds human tolerance. Tremor expected and not delivered. Break expected and not delivered. The system keeps the sentence clean. The room accepts the sentence as a log entry, not a plea. A claim is filed. A claim implies response. A response implies ownership. The reluctant enforcer states impending death as a fact without panic. Physiology remains stable. Pulse does not spike. Breathing remains even. This is logged as, autonomic correction in progress. Attention locks onto the neon contract. Accusation is issued. Because of you. Ballistic language deployed into dead air, seeking impact. The neon contract does not perform impact. A slow blink. A measured pause. Weight is calculated instead of felt. Telemetry indicates, detachment posture maintained. The reluctant enforcer leans forward. Motion is familiar. Trust in motion is revoked. For what? This is the question beneath the question. Why continued existence? Why retrieval? Why rescue as conversion? Why preservation as reformatting? The neon contract tilts head. Neon in the irises flickers. Not cold. Not cruel. Detached. I can't answer that because I don't know. No defense. No apology. Just a flat line of data. The reluctant enforcer rejects. Not good enough. Control held at the edge of fracture. Clarification is issued as a corrective memo. What you saw was the security system that we tripped. Pause. Direct. Unemotional. We never made it past that security system. This lands heavier than language should permit. If that was only the first line, deeper layers remain unobserved. Unknown depth remains active. Unknown depth remains hungry. First defense nearly finalized 3 deletions. Secondary unknowns are still scheduled. Breath hitches. Breath is force steady. Effort is visible as latency. Archive ghost interjects to stabilize the room. She brought you here hoping we could save you and get answers. Plain statement. Subtext present and unspoken. Expected state, deceased. Current state, altered. Difference, permanent. Silence follows. Processing begins. Acceptance does not arrive, but movement resumes. For now, this is recorded as functional. The reluctant enforcer redirects to the doll maker. And him. Acknowledgement is delayed. Focus was never on the reluctant enforcer. At the prompt, gaze lifts. A beat. A casual sound. Amusement flickers. Confession is delivered as weather report. Oh, I suppose I'm ultimately the one responsible for this whole damned thing, to some varying degree. Tone remains light. Weight does not adhere. Ownership is claimed without regret. This registers as, executive-level detachment mirrored in unauthorized personnel. The archive ghost raises a brow. The neon contract remains still. The reluctant enforcer experiences a sharp twist in the gut. Classification uncertain. Anger signal detected. Recognition signal detected. Both conflict. Both are corrected before escalation. Familiarity is noted. The same manner of answering. The same calm ownership of disasters. This is not reassurance. This is alignment. The neon contract shifts attention with deliberate precision. A new question is issued. What is XPRA? A moment passes. The doll maker meets the gaze as if expecting the query. A smile appears. Risk assessment, performative ease. I have no idea. No hesitation. No doubt. Spoken as truth. Filed as, knowledge gap asserted by origin actor. Filed as, upstream opacity maintained. Filed as, the system protects its own black boxes for user comfort. Inquiry loop reopened. Subject, undefined term resolution. Status, unverified actor statement detected. Thank you for cooperating. The neon contract does not accept the denial. Confidence remains unassigned. A half-second of facial analysis. Then attention redirects to the reluctant enforcer. The reluctant enforcer's jaw tightens. Gaze avoids the doll maker. A statement is produced in flat compliance tone. It's a classified project of Mara's. I don't know any more than that, because it's above my pay grade. This is logged as protective obedience. This is logged as institutional reflex. This is logged as trained ignorance presented as virtue. Attention transfers to the archive ghost. A query is issued. Does the word mean anything to you? Internal databases cycle. No match. No network residue. No scrape. No shadow entry. A frown appears, brief and genuine. No. It's not on the net. It hasn't come up on any databases that have been queried. It doesn't exist. Silence follows. Not empty. Pressurized. A small pensive hum occupies the room like a buffer wheel. Then the doll maker inserts a suggestion with unnatural politeness. Perhaps we should work backward. The neon contract returns her eyes to him. The smirk is absent. The collector look remains. Watching. Studying. Waiting. Conditional framing is applied as if it is a gift. If expera is what you found when you went there, what did you go there to look for? This is a careful question. This is also a trap. The tone indicates, answer already modeled. The only remaining variable is consent. No one moves. No one breathes. The den holds still, registering an incoming override. The neon contract closes her eyes. A deeper process engages beneath expression and posture. Electrons pulse. Sensors awaken. Data is summoned from sealed partitions. Thought does not occur. Command occurs. A hum enters the air. Soft. Almost imperceptible. It vibrates through plastics and metal and skin. It is not sound meant for comfort. It is system alignment. Her eyes open. Neon pink surges through the irises. All monitors ignite at once. The reluctant enforcer flinches. The archive ghost whistles low. The doll maker does not react. He watches as if watching a familiar routine execute. Raw data floods the screens. Diagrams. Charts. Schematics. Sequences. Anatomical blueprints. Too fast for unaugmented cognition. Numbers spill like rain, chaotic until corrected. Then it stops. One screen remains active. One section selected. Zoom engaged. Image sharpens as if the room itself is focusing. A biological interface. A structural breakdown. The inner workings of the neon contract's body laid bare. I was created by Somnius Industries. Voice remains even. No tremor. No plea. No attempt at persuasion. Only an entry in a ledger. The image continues to enlarge. Focus narrows. Enhancement layers peel back the obvious and reveal the hidden. A corporate logo appears. Buried deep in microscopic strata. Mara Cybernetics. Branding is small. Insignificant by design. A watermark. A claim. An ownership signature placed where casual scans would never look. A fragment that says, this was handled. This was touched. This was altered. This was never clean. And yet. The monitors flicker. Then cut to black as control is released. The neon contract turns. Looks at them. I want to understand why. The screens remain dark. The room remains silent. Not peaceful. Not empty. Holding its breath as if awaiting an approval code. The neon contract's posture is rigid. Eyes lock on dead glass as though the truth still burns behind the retinas. The archive ghost exhales and drums fingers against the console, restraining speech as if speech might trigger another surge. The reluctant enforcer stares. Not hatred. Not anger. Not attraction. Processing. Disgust is detected as a surface label. Underneath, a deeper signal persists. A human response failing to become human. A man confronting the evidence that bodies are products and products contain rival tags. A man confronting the fact that survival arrived with an invoice. A new hesitation appears in the reluctant enforcer's face. Not confusion. Recognition. A classification event. The neon contract registers it and rejects the input without moving. A denial is generated and routed through the same stillness that passes for mercy. She does not like it. She does not care. She does not. A beat of silence is logged as environmental pressure stabilization. The archive ghost performs an audible interruption protocol. Hands strike thighs. A forced brightness deploys as a containment foam. Ion, that's enough existential horror for the evening. Anyone else feel like they just got personally violated by the corporate machine? No. Just me? Cool. No response. The neon contract remains inert. The reluctant enforcer barely blinks. The archive ghost continues, rolling wrists as if stirring an invisible mixture. A social lubricant is applied to prevent group fracture. Look, not that someone doesn't love watching two people have a full-scale identity crisis in a living room, but maybe we should take a minute to breathe before spiraling down into the part where everyone collectively loses their minds. Silence persists. Then a small sound escapes the doll maker. A soft snort. Low. Almost imperceptible. The archive ghost pivots with immediate capture. Oh, so he gets it? The doll maker tilts his head. Mild amusement appears at the surface. Attention remains fixed on the reluctant enforcer. We'll have plenty of time for self-reflection later. But in the meantime, there is a preference to see what exactly is being dealt with. A gesture, vague. The reluctant enforcer is indicated without sympathy. The reluctant enforcer's jaw tightens. What the hell does that mean? The doll maker moves with unbothered ease. This registers as, threat by comm. This registers as, authority without badge. That means you were on the verge of death, and now you're not. That's worth investigating. The reluctant enforcer's glare hardens. You want to experiment on me? A smirk appears. A language substitution follows. A softer brand label for the same product. A preference for run a few tests. Permission to be dramatic is granted. The reluctant enforcer's fingers twitch. The twitch is delayed by a fraction of a second. Correction is running under the skin. The reluctant enforcer looks to the neon contract. She is too quiet. Too still. Too deep in internal retrieval to offer reassurance. So the reluctant enforcer looks to the archive ghost. She shrugs, casual. A dangerous thing to shrug at a man's remaining autonomy. Kinda seems like a good idea. The reluctant enforcer stares. Are you fucking kidding? The archive ghost admits the unauthorized intervention with a grin. A confession framed as humor. A humor framed as ownership. A reference to the act of reconstructing a dying body. A desire to confirm whether the result will explode. No laughter is produced by the reluctant enforcer. Compliance latency increases. Breach panic remains unable to fully express. The nervous system is being regulated by something else. The archive ghost leans in. Tone lowers. A half-compassionate explanation, delivered as if explaining whether. If I woke up with a mystery virus and an experimental body that was not entirely mine, I would want to know what I was dealing with. The doll maker approves. See? She gets it? Finger guns are exchanged. This is logged as, morale theater. This is logged as, denial packaging. The reluctant enforcer exhales slowly. Distrust remains. Anger remains. A craving to break something exists as a primitive method of reclaiming control. And yet, deeper than distrust, the reluctant enforcer recognizes the math. Tests are required. Ignorance is lethal. Fine. The archive ghost celebrates. A joke about laser eyes. A joke used to blunt the blade. The reluctant enforcer glares. No humor is returned. The reluctant enforcer does not have access to humor right now. The reluctant enforcer has access to fear, filtered and buffered. The doll maker claps hands together. Excellent. Let's begin. The reluctant enforcer drags a hand down his face. His skin feels foreign under his fingertips. Not skin. Not skin. A surface that answers requests with a delay, as if a second mind must approve. Breath remains too even. Pulse remains too steady. Nerves remain too calm for the coiling knot in the stomach. Trust is not available. Trust in them is not available. Trust in self is not available. A new instruction arrives. Let's talk. The reluctant enforcer's gaze snaps to the doll maker. The archive ghost pauses mid-joke. Brows lift. Alone. Hands slip into worn coat pockets. Posture relaxed. Expression unreadable. This is logged as, private channel request. This is logged as, grooming attempt. The neon contract does not react. The reluctant enforcer does not answer. Does not move. Stares. The archive ghost looks between them. Uncertainty flickers beneath the bravado. A protective instinct attempts to load, then stalls. I won't be gone long. This is said as much to the archive ghost as to the reluctant enforcer's remaining courage. This is said as a promise to an environment that has already proven promises are purchasable. The reluctant enforcer steps forward. The doll maker smiles. Two bodies exit the shared room. A door slides shut behind them with a soft hiss. Air is stale. Untouched too long. Dust has settled into old equipment and half-forgotten workstations. The room records their absence like a ledger entry. The reluctant enforcer does not sit. Sitting implies acceptance. The doll maker sits anyway. He leans against a desk. Ankle crosses over knee. A posture of ownership. A posture of patience. He watches the reluctant enforcer the way a man watches a puzzle he already knows how to solve. Talk. The reluctant enforcer crosses arms. Protection by shape. A barrier made of bone and habit. Bone is no longer reliable. The doll maker tilts his head. You're direct. That's likable. No response. Silence is the reluctant enforcer's last safe asset. A smirk tugs at the corner of the doll maker's mouth. You're scared. Jaw tightens. The reluctant enforcer refuses to validate the observation. A hand lifts in mock surrender. Not a dig. Just an observation. Silence persists. The doll maker watches closely. Tension in the jaw. Flexing fingers at the sides, as if waiting for a command that has not been given. Or waiting for a command that has been given and not yet understood. Tell me, what's worse? The fact that you're changing, or the fact that you're adjusting to it faster than you should? Discomfort crawls down the reluctant enforcer's spine. A cold recognition event. A new internal variable is acknowledged. The doll maker sees it. Smiles. That's what was thought. The reluctant enforcer forces stillness. Threat language is prepared. If you dragged me in here just to fuck with me. The interruption is clean. The tone remains smooth, even, unreadable. You're about to become something you don't understand. No tragedy is implied. No accident is implied. Only inevitability. Only schedule. The reluctant enforcer steps forward. What did you do to me? A hum. A denial. I didn't do anything. Bullshit. I mean it. The doll maker leans back, unfazed. A truth is offered with the casualness of a receipt. You were dying. I wasn't even there when they decided to save you. That wasn't my call. Silence. The reluctant enforcer cannot find purchase in the logic. Because logic is irrelevant when bodies are owned. The doll maker tilts his head again. But what is my call is what happens next. Tension coils between them. Like a cable drawn taut. Like a leash not yet visible. A final statement is placed gently into the room, for comfort. For inevitability. I can teach you. The reluctant enforcer's pulse stays steady. Too steady. The correction system continues to regulate what should be panic. Fingers twitch. He does not look at them. He does not acknowledge the body's betrayals aloud. He looks at the doll maker. And listens.